the very last of this sustainably sourced Palo Santo. Don't mind New Palo Santo, but thankfully this was a gift. The very last bit of it for the best rising sign, if I do say so myself. Hey, it's Marin, and this is the yearly 2020 forecast for Capricorn Risings. First, we will look at the astrology, what the transits are indicating, and what the planetary alignments are signaling is happening in your life as a Cap Rising. Then we will look at the tarot cards, look at the oracle deck and the law of attraction cards to see what guidance is coming through for you to best navigate these energies in your life. So we'll start out looking at these slower moving planets, because the slower moving planets stay in areas of your life in your chart longer and can indicate what areas of life are being focalized for greater periods of time. So Jupiter at the very end of 2019 moved into your Capricorn first house. Jupiter, the planet of expansion and optimism and growth and belief, coming into your first house of self and physical body and identity, indicating that this next year is going to be showtime. You are coming out, you are coming into the world and showing off yourself after a lot of internal work. Trust me, a lot of internal work. I feel ya. So Jupiter will also be sextile Neptune and Pisces in your third house, meaning that the growth that you're having regarding yourself and your identity is allowing you to go after dreams in terms of communication, writing projects, short-term travel plans, or projects with siblings. And this aspect of opportunity will go exact on February 20th, July 27th, and October 12th for you to keep in mind. Jupiter will also be conjunct Pluto in your first house of self in Capricorn, so that a lot of this crisis and transformation that's been happening with you and your identity and your physical body with Pluto will have the lid blown off of it. Like the pressure cooker is finally exploding, and the dynamics of crisis and transmutation are really showing themselves off. This big time aspect will go exact April 4th, June 30th, and November 12th. So Jupiter will station retrograde at 27 degrees of Capricorn on May 14th, and Jupiter will station direct at 17 degrees of Capricorn on September 12th. So if your rising or another planet is near 27 or 17 Capricorn, big time for expansion and growth in your life on those dates. On the very end of 2020, so very end of 2020, Jupiter will move out of Capricorn and into Aquarius. On December 19th, Jupiter will enter Aquarius, and then on December 21st of 2020, Jupiter will conjoin Saturn at 0 degrees of Aquarius, indicating a new structure, a new thought form, a new paradigm will be beginning in your life to build up on in terms of finances in your life. So most of 2020 though, Jupiter will be in your Capricorn first house, so the expansion will be regarding you, your identity, your physical body and sense of self, but the tail end of 2020, the focus of growth will transition into finances. So let's move on to Saturn, your ruling planet, the planet of limitation, boundary, black and white karma, challenge, structure, finding your roots. And Saturn will enter Aquarius, coming out of your first house and entering Aquarius in your second house of finances on March 21st. So the limitations, the growth from challenges will come into your financial world for this next few years. On May 11th, Saturn stations retrograde at 1 degree of Aquarius, so if you have any planets there, watch out for that. And then on July 1st, Saturn will re-enter Capricorn in your first house. On September 29th, Saturn will station direct at 25 degrees of Capricorn, and then on December 17th, Saturn re-enters Aquarius. So if you have anything, you're rising or a planet around 25 degrees of Capricorn, do take note that that will be a focal time for lessons and growth this September. Let's move on to Uranus. Uranus is in Taurus in your 5th house for quite a few more years of its several year-long transit for the greater part of the decade. It's a planet of liberation, Promethean uproar, and innovation, liberation, awakening that area of your life. It's in your Taurus 5th house of romance, creativity, children. 5th house is the things of fun and what we create and put out into the world. So on January 10th, Uranus stations direct at 2 degrees of Taurus, and then on August 15th, Uranus stations retrograde at 10 degrees of Taurus. So this is indicating that if you have anything at 2 or 10 degrees of Taurus, this will be really like exploding with newness. I know my chart ruler is Saturn at 3 degrees of Taurus, so definitely being like, what's happening to me in my 5th house of fun for this year. The last planet we will touch on with the outer planets is Pluto. Pluto is still going through your Capricorn first house, transforming, awakening, bringing the crisis and the trauma and the breakdown to breakthrough regarding your body, your sense of self, you in your life. The spotlight for the growth is still on you. So April 25th, Pluto stations retrograde at 24 Capricorn, and October 4th, Pluto stations direct at 22 Capricorn. So if you have anything 20 to 25 degrees of Capricorn, I would say, that's definitely why was I signed out. My Google account is through NYU, and so like I have to do like triple factor identification. So like I was saying, Pluto is in Capricorn, bringing the rebirth and the crisis and the shit still to your sense of self and your physical body and you and your life. It's still, you know, caterpillar turning into butterfly time for us Cap Risings. I need to stop saying that I'm a Cap Rising. I bet this is getting really annoying for you guys. So we'll move on to the inner planet retrogrades. When an inner planet is retrograde, it represents an internalization, a delay, a reversal, or in a reworking of the planetary significations, so that Mercury retrogrades are indicating a reversal or a delay in communication, writing projects, contracts, things like that. So the first Mercury retrograde will be between Pisces and Aquarius in your 3rd and 2nd houses from February 16th through March 9th. So watch out for anything regarding communication, something with siblings, a short-term travel project, or anything financial. I wouldn't sign any financial contracts February into March. June 18th through July 12th, there will be a Mercury retrograde between Leo and Cancer in your 8th house and 7th houses. So watch out for things shared financially or with relationships in general those 2 months. October 14th into November 3rd, there will be a Mercury retrograde between your Scorpio 11th house and Libra 10th house. So watch out for anything regarding networking and social world or career-wise for plans you're making. There will be a Venus retrograde between May 13th and June 25th in your Gemini 6th house. So watch to, I would, instead of going after new relationships with women in your, any type of relationship with women that are coworkers or starting any type of also new health regime, I would take a look at what's already happening and rework the relationships or health dynamics in your life. There will be a Mars retrograde from September 9th into November 13th in your Aries 4th house. So instead of starting anything new regarding home, family, or property, I would take a look at what efforts you have already put into dividing or cutting through like bullshit in your home and family life. Like just look back at that instead of starting new conflict, basically. So the eclipses this year will be moving out of your 1st house, 7th house axis and into your 12th house, 6th house axis. Because for a while, the eclipses were indicating a stepping into a sense of newness in relationships, and now they're indicating a stepping into a new sense of like health and self-care. So the first eclipse is on January 10th. It's a lunar eclipse, a full moon at 20 degrees of Cancer. The final culmination or release in your relationship world. If you have your descendant at anywhere, if 20 Cancer near that, that'll be a final culmination high point for that relationship in your life. On June 5th, there is a lunar eclipse full moon at 15 degrees of Sagittarius in your 12th house. So a culmination, a high point in terms of self-undoing, self-sabotage, or meditative states in exile, any of those unseen things. On June 25th, there is a solar eclipse, a new moon at 0 degrees of Cancer, a final time to set new intentions for your relationship world. On July 5th, there is a lunar eclipse, a full moon at 13 degrees of Capricorn in your 1st house. So this is a final high point regarding your sense of self and you and your physical body to let yourself be seen. On November 30th, there is a lunar eclipse, a full moon at 8 degrees of Gemini, a culmination coming to a head of things in your area of life of health, health, daily routine, taking care of yourself or coworkers. And then the final eclipse of this year is December 14th, a total solar eclipse, a new moon at 23 degrees of Sagittarius, a big time to harness new beginnings of where do you need to rethink your inner psychology, where do you need to pick up a spiritual practice or go within more. So with that being said, let's look at 3 cards that will highlight the 3 parts of 2020 for you this year as Capricorn Risings in 2020. So the first part of 2020, we have the 5 of Cups reversed, which generally indicates that you aren't even frustrated with, it's like the 5 of Cups upright deals with going after something and paying the price for getting what you want. The 5 of Cups reverse indicates that you don't even have desires to be fulfilled or like weighing out the pros and cons. Like you don't even care. Like you're just like not even bothering with going after things. You don't really care about giving up something to get something. You're not even getting to participate in that desire at the beginning of the year. So the second part of 2020, we have the 5 of Wands, another 5. The 5 of Wands is performativity that has limitations. So you are in a situation where you are doing your thing and you're being exuberant, but in some sort of confined situation. You're contesting against other people who are also performing, like maybe you're in some sort of contest or you're competing. It's a zero-sum game, like not everyone can win. I know in my own life there's something happening that would make sense to correspond to this time period that I would hope would be described by this card. So this is, I'm glad that I'm reading for myself and I'm a Cap rising right now. The last card we have is the Eight of Cups inverted, which is indicating that you are wanting to do the internal work and go within, but you're like having to stay performing. Like you're wanting to leave the party and go meditate in your room, but you have to stay at the party because you're like obligated or you're the one hosting it. Like you want to go within, but you have to stay going without. So it's just indicating that at the end of the year, you're wanting to wind things down, but you're still being demanded of to perform at a high level. So with that being said, let's pull a head, body, heart, 3-card spread from our Work Your Light Oracle deck to see what guidance is coming through for Capricorn risings. So for the head card, we have Minta Khan. I've never pulled this card in all my time having this deck. Longing for home, belonging, the original light workers. So I've never pulled this card, I'm not sure what it means, so I'm going to actually look up in the little booklet what it's indicating. They're a soul group from Orion. They're at peace around water. They're longing for a home and have a struggle that feels like they don't find it. Perhaps you feel this longing to find home without knowing where that is. You are being called to connect with Mother Earth and create it for yourself. So this is a card about creating a mentally safe structure for yourself. Like if you're in an environment where you're mentally beating up on yourself, that is not what will allow you and your creativity to flourish. For the body card, we have you're already doing it. Stop overthinking, keep facing your true north. So this is actually indicating that the physical situation you're in is where you're supposed to be. You might just not be interacting mentally with it in the right way. Like you're in the right situation, you're doing the things, you're following your path, you just need to switch your mindset. And for the heart card, we have soul family. Call in your tribe, you don't have to do it alone. So you really don't have to go through this transformation solo. This is a time, definitely a hermiting time for Cap rising, is definitely a time to do the internal work. But you can call upon people in your life, you can call upon your ancestors, and you can find that support and help from the outside. So finally, let's pull a Law of Attraction card to see what card is coming up for attraction guidance for Cap risings for 2020. Within 60 days, it can be mine. As you give thought to your future, that may be 10 years or 60 days away, you begin pre-paving. And then as you move into those pre-paved moments and as that future becomes your present, you fine-tune it by saying, this is now what I want. And all of those pre-paved thoughts will fit together to bring you precisely the experience that you now want to live. So I think a lot of these things combined, I think you should pick up a more dedicated meditation practice if you're not already, to fine-tune what manifestations you want to attract, because you have been doing so much internal work that it's now time to focus the thoughts on what you want to bring in and attract. You have done a lot of the doing, now it's time to be a lot of the being. So if this was helpful, like, subscribe, do all the things. Let me know how this resonated below. Leave me a comment with what your 2020 is feeling like for you. I do offer private astrology consultations and would love to read for you. And otherwise, I will see you in the next video.